Oh, why? What do you mean?
Oh, no, it's fine. YouTube is setting it up now.
Okay. Oh, why? What do you mean?
Oh, no, it's fine. YouTube is setting it up now.
Okay. All right, let's start talking.
All right, we can talk now. I'm trying to get this sent out, guys. I'm going to share it out there right now. For those of you that don't know, this is let's do some house cleaning before we get some guys in here. It's the Rangers Today Baseball Podcast. We're not going to be doing a show for the next couple of weeks. We kind of wanted to do the playoffs, do some live streams of stuff going on. We do want to talk about what happened against the Mariners this weekend, what heading into the Tampa Bay series. Want to get this out here, so let's get it going so that we can share it out there. Jeff, I'm going to tag you in it, so be sure and tweet it out there.
All right.
All right. Okay, so wow. I mean, a lot of stuff going on with what happened against Seattle. Obviously, Rangers. Look, it's on the Rangers. You can't blame anybody but the Rangers on this. No point in. I mean, I had some fun on Twitter and all of that, but the truth of the matter is the Houston Astros won. Of course, they didn't really play against anybody but a double-A team. But and the Mariners, hey, tip of the hat. They weren't just going to let anybody have it. They put some guys out there and let it go. Rangers didn't take advantage when they started, changing out the lineup, putting some kids out there to play. The Rangers had a chance and just went cold. And now they got to go through Tampa Bay.
Yeah, you're right. The Rangers needed to score 2 runs. There's no doubt about it. What the Diamondbacks did though is chicken shit. It's not what you're supposed to do in baseball. If you're playing an opponent who is still competing for a division title or a playoff spot, you field a competitive lineup. That's just the bottom line. Torey Lovullo knows that. Jeff Bannister, Mr. Old School himself, knows that too. And for them to not do that was garbage. I would have said that if it had been if it had been the roles reversed and the Rangers were playing the Mariners and the Mariners were trying for a playoff spot. You do what the game has told teams to do for decades and decades and decades, and Arizona didn't do it. So shame on them. All right. Shame on them. And I hope they get eliminated by the Brewers. It's exactly what they deserve. You mess with the baseball gods, you're going to get what you deserve. Now that said, like you said, the Rangers just needed to score a couple runs. That's all they needed to do. They needed to not blow the save Thursday night. You know, they did this to themselves. So that's the close in view, the looking through the microscope. If you pull back to 30,000 feet, Rangers won 22 more games than they did the last year. They finished tied for first in the American League West with the defending world champions. This team is pretty flawed in the bullpen. And they were still able to be in it down to the last day to win the division title. They had to fly 6 hours from Seattle to Tampa. They did not work out today. Tampa's good, man. Tampa hits left-handers and is really good at home. And the Rangers are starting Jordan Montgomery, who's been exceptional. I think he's done very well against other right-handed heavy lineups. So we'll see what happens. You know, it's T.R. Sullivan tweeted out that the Rangers have never lost a postseason game at Tropicana Field, which is true.
Yep.
I myself am 5-0 there. I'm hoping to go 6-0.
That's another thing. You're leaving when in the morning?
Leaving in the morning. Yeah. Couldn't leave tonight. Just too much shit going on here with the family, but leaving in the morning. I should get there plenty of time for pregame, and then we'll see what happens. And I hope I come back Thursday with the Rangers winning the first two games of the series. But I don't know. We have to wait and see. But anything can happen in baseball. Good teams get beat in these wild card games or wild card rounds a lot. It happens, and the Rangers are going to be trying to I don't know, be the spoiler, I guess.
Look, I don't think anybody can question the fact that the Rangers, if they can get any sort of play from Leclerc and say even Hernandez, who've come around a little bit and look good, this is an offense that can compete with anybody. Now, one thing you talked about, Tampa Bay is good at hitting left-handed pitching, and the Rangers are bad at hitting 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. And that's what they're facing in Tyler Glasnow, who's getting out there and throws the ball in the high 90s. This is a good pitcher that they're going to be facing there. And yes, they are having some issues with the fastball right now. So it's on paper, when you look at it, it does look like the Rangers are a little bit behind the ball, but this is a team that went into Tampa and won 2 out of 3 earlier in the season. Wait a minute. They won 2 out of 3 here and got swept there.
They swept here, lost 2 out of 3 there.
Lost 2 out of 3 there. So, this is the team that won the season series doing this, but Tampa's good. I mean, there's nothing to say about it. They were the second best team in the American League, and they are the 4th seed going into this. So, because of the way they schedule this thing out. But yeah, yesterday was pretty shitty. It just really was. And what Arizona did, I kind of get where they're coming from. They've got to go around and travel. They've got to go do it. And they didn't want to, but you could have started the game with some people in there. But they flat out ran out, a minor league team is what.
Yeah. Well, and it's not like they had a great weekend. They lost all 3 games, and they had lost the Thursday night at Chicago, or Thursday afternoon. So they're going into the postseason on a 4-game losing streak. Their best players are not hitting right now, and maybe the Astros has something to do with that, but that's just the way it is. What's up, Connor?
Hey, Connor, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, Connor, I'm gonna put you on mute for a little bit while Jeff finishes and we finish some housekeeping stuff. Whenever you come in, we'll get you here in just a minute, buddy.
Sweet. Sounds good.
Okay. Jeff, so what time do you fly out in the morning?
7:19.
7. What time are they getting? Is everything? I mean, it's a 2:00 game, so it's 3:00 Eastern. What time's the clubhouse open and all of that?
Well, the clubhouse does not open in the postseason. There is no clubhouse availability in the postseason. So you
just be on the field.
The players on the field. The beat writers get private time with Bruce Bochy, but he also has to go to the podium, to the interview room. So they have a pretty tightly structured in the postseason, and take care of the players, I guess. But you can grab players on the field. So
if the Rangers pull this out, do they come home or do they immediately go to Baltimore? Because they start Saturday, right?
Yeah, I would think that they would head to, what is Baltimore? The Charm City?
It's not charming.
It's not the Queen City, is it? It might be the Queen City. Either way, just as long as they don't get off the main drag, they ought to be okay. But
the Wire, that's what it is.
Yeah, they shouldn't come home. They can go and buy clothes. Their hotel is right by a Lululemon, so they can all go get a bunch of clothes at Lululemon and be set for the week. Yeah. I mean, they could be looking at what they went on the road. They've been on the road for 7 days. You're going to add potentially. I mean, they could be potentially gone for 2 weeks. And that's fine. I'm sure they'd take it if it meant
they're winning.
Yeah,
they're winning.
Yeah.
Connor, jump in. Did you have questions or anything you wanted to ask? I'm looking on YouTube here. Anybody got any questions in there? Go ahead.
Just looking ahead at pitching matchups, I'm pretty sure game 1's Glasnow, Montgomery. I mean, the Rays are a huge platoon team. They're always been that way as a franchise. So I just wanted to kind of get y'all's opinion on, do you think that it's still going to have that same approach into the coming games, or if it's going to be a little bit more solidified staffing lineup wise.
Well, I mean, if you remember the 2020 World Series, Blake Snell was dominating, absolutely dominating, and they took him out because the numbers told them to take him out, and they ended up losing the game. I mean, they didn't apologize about it afterwards. I mean, they said, Kevin Cass said, this is what's got us here. This is what we're going to do. So I would imagine that philosophy will hold true throughout the series. And I was kind of talking here with a buddy at my son's baseball practice, 30 minutes ago. Game 3, if it gets to game 3, who are the Rangers going to start? Because you'd have Heaney, who'd be on normal rest, and Dunning on short rest
again.
So could you start, say, Heaney, and then after 3 innings, or if he can get that far, flip and go to a right-hander and make the Rays either dump their bench or stick with a weaker lineup. So I think that's something that the Rangers would have to consider for that game. But for the first 2, I just think they need to ride their guys. I mean, I don't know what Eovaldi looked so good Saturday night, or what was it, Friday night, for 2 innings. He looked like he was back, and then it just got away from him. Montgomery is very good, and as you know, Connor, starting pitchers are your best pitchers. So the Rangers are kind of in a position where they have to ride them as far as they'll take them. I don't think that they want to get into a situation where on Thursday, if it gets to game 3, and their only available arms are Jake Latz and Brock Burke. They need to play this. Their best chances for their starters to give them a shot. And if they don't, then it could be a quick series. But that's how I think they've got to go about it. Just ride Montgomery and Eovaldi and see what happens.
Hey, on YouTube here, Nathan Dyer has asked the question. It's a pretty good one. Have they already announced the rosters for the wild card series?
No, rosters come out tomorrow morning. So they're probably gonna. It's a short series, yes, but Chris Young said that the Rangers are probably still going to go with 13 pitchers.
Yeah, I would
imagine. Even with only 3 games, I think that as many pitchers as they can get, the better off they'll be. They don't pinch hit a ton anyway, so I would.
Did you know what Adam Morris put out today?
No.
Okay, so he did a prediction. You know who he left off?
No.
Duran.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. I mean,
it made total sense. And I actually, I give Adam credit. I actually thought that, but didn't have the balls to even put it out there because of kind of what Duran. I mean, there's a sense of, wow, Duran really is the guy that stepped up when Seager went down. He was great actually for what he did to fill in and do that. But I was like, when you start looking at your roster and you've got to cut it down, you got to have 26 players, you're going to go 13. Who's that guy that's probably not, you think about Hedges, you think that, but I was like, Duran's the guy that's least, because look, they're going to ride their starters unless something happens with an injury or something to that effect. They're going to ride their starters. You may get a late inning pinch runner or a defensive replacement in some scenario. And in that defensive replacement, let's be honest, Josh Smith's a better defender than Ezekiel Duran when it comes to infield. And in the outfield, Travis Jankowski is a better outfielder. They're going to probably keep Grossman because of that switch hitting and coming off the bench factor. And he might be the right-hander against left-handed pitching if he stays with that, if Bochy stays with that. But, it kind of made sense, but I didn't have the balls. I didn't say anything. And when he said it, I was like, kudos. I was kind of thinking that, but I thought maybe I'm just an idiot that was thinking that.
Yeah. Okay. Who would you rather have play third base if Josh Young hurt his thumb again? Would you rather have Duran or would you rather have Josh Smith?
Defensively, you want Smith. There's not even getting around it. Smith's arm's better. Smith is a great defender.
I don't know if his arm is better, but he's better defensively. I'll give him that.
I think his arm's better. Have you ever?
I don't think so. But anyway,
all right, we're going to argue about that.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Now, Austin Hedges, do you keep him on the
Okay,
roster?
so here's what he said on that.
Because the Rangers are going to be playing both of their catchers at the same time.
That's what he said.
You're going to want to run for him at some point. So that's
exactly what he said. And what I was thinking, you're going to keep that third. He is just your safety net. Let's say something happens to Garver is your DH. You're going to have Jonah behind the plate at any late stage. If you need to pinch run for anyone, you're not taken out. Like even if Hedges was to take, go out and run for let's say Garver late in a game, or they just pinch run someone else, they could turn around and make Hedges the DH, who would then back up or cover your whatever. He's going to be your guy.
I'm sure I can run a catcher for a catcher. I mean, if you're going to pinch run.
Right. But what I'm saying is you're covered for that Jonah Heim injury if they've pinch run for Garver or Jonah Heim. You know what I'm saying? You're covered with a catcher that can come out there without having to lose your DH. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And so you that's why Hedges serves value. Plus, everybody loves the big ostrich egg and the antics he likes to do in the dugout. Because let me tell you what, he'll fire you up in the dugout.
He can still be in the dugout and not be on the roster. I mean, they can. That's not an issue. I just, you kind of go back to like the 91 NLCS and the Braves were down to their last batter and it was their number 3 catcher and he, came up with the single that won the game and sent the Braves to the World Series and everybody was like, oh shit, we got to have this guy bat, and he ended up winning the game. So you don't. If you're the Rangers, you're like, God dang it, are we going to put ourselves in a situation where Austin Hedges has to win us a game? And that might happen, but it's probably the best thing to do is carry him.
Well, Garver and Heim are going to both be in the lineup unless they go full right-handed and they feel like Garver's a better at bat and they're going to put they're going to DH what's his name?
Grossman,
then maybe in that situation, but it just seems to me you're going to keep Garver in the lineup. This is a 3-game series.
Yeah. I mean, he's cooled off. He's 0 for his last 14 or 15, but I get your point. I mean, he's one of their guys and I'd assume that he's in the lineup. But yeah, so we'll find out tomorrow morning.
What about pitchers? Does Will Smith make this a little 13?
Yeah, he makes it for sure. There's no question he makes it. He's got playoff experience. He was a closer for the Braves World Series team 2 years ago. I know he hasn't pitched well, but Will Smith's on the roster.
The last time he went out, though, he did well. The time before that, he didn't.
He's going to be on the roster.
Yeah.
If you're going on the roster that ended the season, Jake Latz probably doesn't make it, even though Jake Latz has been great. I would assume Matt Bush probably isn't on the roster, I would assume. Though he has pitched in the postseason and pitched well. It was 8 years ago, but he was really good. So 7 years ago, but I don't know. I don't know. That's it's not inconsequential, but
hey, it's all hands on deck.
And plus, you're not going to have your 5th starter or your 4th starter, although there's going to be some configuration for game 3 where you're going to need a couple guys, but they'll have a surplus relief arm in there, especially with Gray hurt. So,
the best thing that could happen would obviously be just to take the first 2, and then you can rest everybody for a couple of days when you go up there. But in all likelihood, if this does get past 2 games, I mean, it's going 3. If the Rangers can tweak one out, they're probably going to go 3. I mean, I don't see them taking 2, but they could. They are an offense that could do it. The problem is the offense is so if they're on, it could be a high scoring game. If they're off, I mean, look at yesterday. They're off. I mean, they couldn't get one run across at all. Now, kudos to what's his name who pitched a hell of a game, Kirby, who came. he pitched a hell of a game, and he wasn't going to go the seventh because I don't think he likes to pitch the seventh. Right? Is that the deal?
Yeah. And I think that was enough. I think that's where Scott Service probably felt like he'd done enough to uphold the integrity of the pennant race, and at that point felt like he could do what he needed to do. So,
Hey guys, I'm looking at YouTube here. You guys hit that YouTube subscribe button down there. If you have any questions, send a message right now. What about you, Connor? Anything you have? Any questions you have while you're here? I invited people on. You could have joined the Zoom if you want. A couple of them said they were going to. I guess they didn't show up. Anything you want to ask or say?
I was kind of going to go off of what you were saying a second ago, how either the batch, really hot, really cold at times, and something has a lot to do with that is runners in scoring position, just complete batting average. I think I saw this past series against the Mariners. We were 3 for 25 or something close to that, just down in the zeros of batting average with runners in scoring position. Just kind of, I guess, just noting it's always been kind of a really big problem or really great problem to have this year. But how does that affect this series with Tampa Bay's great bullpen?
Well, a lot of those runners in scoring position stats are skewed when they bring in when a team brings in its big arms and to get them out of a jam. They bring in this fresh arm nowadays, throwing 98, 100 with, nasty slider. And it's tough on the hitters. But to your point, you get a runner at third and one out. You just got to put the ball in play. You don't, as you played baseball, you don't have to get a hit to get a guy home from third. And it's just, who's up at the time. Do you want Adolis Garcia not in his normal approach? Are you looking to do damage and hang your crooked number at that point? But no, it's, playoff baseball games aren't 15-12 very often. They're 3-2, 4-3, 2-1. If you got a chance to get a guy home, you got to do it. So that's a pretty key stat. But then you see guys like Simeon and Heim who are really good this year with runners in scoring position. So it just, when do you catch a guy hot or cold? Is the pitcher going to make a mistake? Are you facing their big gun? Pete Fairbanks, is he going to be in there throwing 100-mile-per-hour gas and getting
from accounting?
I think the last time Pete Fairbanks pitched against the Rangers is when he threw a ball to the backstop and we walked it off.
Former Rangers pitcher Pete Fairbanks.
Former Ranger, great. Yeah,
Ranger legend.
Hey, I got a couple coming up here on YouTube, Jeff, and this one's a good one because it needs explanation. I think I figured it out, but I'll ask you since look, as much as I know about baseball, he forgets. Evan Carter is available for the postseason. There were some questions about that, or if you read the rules technically, I guess technically if you read the rules, but there's ways he gets in. Tell us why he is available and how that works.
Well, there is all this process.
What's on the 40-man?
But the fact of the matter is, he was in the organization.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're in the organization as of August 31st, you've got you're fine. And I know you have to jump through some hoops when you get put on the 40-man and all this stuff, but I know of no scenario ever in which, and I could, it could have happened, but I've never heard of it where a player is not permitted to play. The Braves did it during their good run with Odalis Perez and some of their young starters who came up and pitched out of the bullpen. He did come up to replace an injured player, so that factors into it too. But as long as you're in the organization, you're good. And again, I've never seen it where it hasn't worked out that way. But if somebody knows that it has, you can tell me, that's fine. But my understanding all along is that you just got to be in the organization.
Well, I mean, an example would be, because a lot of people were asking about what's his name that just took off this year after getting drafted. Would that have to be an injury, Langford? Or would
Probably, but again, you're in the organization and it's it generally your appeal such that it is just a formality in a lot of instances, as far as I know. Again, there might be examples out there that I'm not aware of, but in Rangers playoff history since 2010, I don't recall that ever going against them. And John Daniels always insisted, as long as you're in the organization, you're good.
Hey guys, let's reset the page here. Just going to tell you what's going on. Connor here has joined us. If you want to join us, if you want to DM me, I don't mind you coming into the Zoom. You can ask questions on YouTube. Go down and hit that subscribe button. What Jeff and I are doing, we're not going to have a show for the next couple of weeks. We kind of thought we'd do this playoff thing with some live shows. Jeff and Rangers Today will be in Tampa Bay. He leaves in the morning. He flies out. He'll be there for the game, covering it from the press box for Rangers Today. I'll be covering home games if they ever get back here. Wondering about that. It might be next season before that happens. But we wanted to do this. We are going to be coming up on episode 100 after we get going again. We're up to episode 99. Episode 100 might be special. We're looking at maybe doing some sort of road show, maybe having somebody come visit with us and sit out there with us. We don't know yet. We've got to let the season in before we do that. But there's some opportunities to maybe have some of the organization join us somewhere. You guys come out, have a beer, and enjoy it for episode number 100. We can't thank you guys enough for we get a lot of activity on this thing every week. And Jeff, I know you feel the same way. Kudos to you guys. Appreciate it. Look, he's a professional journalist. I'm just some dumbass that comes on here and kind of drives this thing and gets it rolling. But it's a lot of fun, a lot of good Ranger fans. And I know we can't thank it enough. Hey, rangerstoday.com. If you want the best coverage of the Texas Rangers from top to bottom, it's rangerstoday.com. $5.99 a month, $60 for a year, and $35 for 6 months. And that'll get you through the off season. Now let's get back to it. We've already talked about the Rays, the series coming up. We've got some questions here. Let's see. Someone said, "Who do you think is the biggest threat in the Tampa lineup?" I think it'd be a Rosarina, don't you think? Or maybe
yeah. Well, I mean, they have Yandy Diaz ended up winning the AL batting title over Corey Seager as he sat out basically all weekend.
Yeah, he sat out. He didn't play.
He's not Ted Williams, but he's a big right-handed bat. He was an all-star. Rosarina is the guy, though, I think, especially when you look at what he did in the 2020 postseason, all the home runs he hit. I think he set a record for home runs. He and Corey Seager were going back and forth with that. So I think that's him. Again, it's it's a different team without Wander Franco on it.
And I don't think he's coming back.
Well, no, he's not. We need to not need to get into Dominican dating habits, but he is gone, and that hurts them. I mean, every team deals with not necessarily that, but with injuries and weird things that happen from time to time. And so the Rangers aren't alone with their injuries and their players they're missing, but it's still a good lineup. I think they put up a bunch of runs Sunday in the season finale, even without Diaz. They're platoon guys, Josh Lowe, Nate's brother, nice little player, athletic, big, can run, hit for power. So they've got guys, no doubt about it. But I think a Rosarina, just based on what he's done as an all-star, as a rookie of the year, and as his 2020 postseason, I would rate him as the guy to watch out for.
And we got a podcast question. Where do you think podcast alum Cody Freeman starts next year? We're already starting into some off-season stuff.
He did everything he could, I think. At high A, he didn't hit a ton, which is concerning, but he was also really, I know he played some infield, but his primary duty was catcher, and they wanted him to focus on being a catcher. And you can look throughout the minor leagues and with a few exceptions, see where guys learning to catch really struggle offensively. And so I would think he'd get a shot at Double A. He's a good kid, a hard worker. Everybody likes him. I mean, he's just a well-liked dude, a good teammate, and he wanted to catch. This is what he wants. So,
Yeah.
Have him move up with some of the pitchers that are going to be joining him that would be going to Frisco. Help them with their, being comfortable in a new league, a new environment. So I would say Double A.
Okay, I've got a good question here, and this could go a lot of different places because actually a lot of them could. Kyle Jesse says, who in this lineup do y'all feel needs to step up the most to win in Tampa? Seattle series made it feel imperative that Seager gets back on track, but who do you think needs to step up in this series? Is Seager obviously one of them, but Seager's consistent. Look, he puts good at bats every time, whether he puts the ball in play or not, or it's out.
I think Nate Lowe's
that's what I was thinking.
The choice there, and Josh Young too. I think those are two guys that especially since they're batting 3, 4, or 5 somewhere in that vicinity. I think that those are the guys that need to get going, and maybe Nate will be inspired facing his brother. Maybe they just needed to get through the regular season. I don't know, but those are the two I would go with. The only thing I would say about Seager, and I'm nitpicking, is teams have just stopped throwing him fastballs.
Yeah.
And I know his approach. A lot of guys have this approach is, sit on fastball, adjust. He needs to really
tries to ambush you.
Yeah. I think that he really needs to be a little more aware of how he's being pitched. And I'm sure he is, but he is an aggressive hitter. And after what he did this year when he was hitting just about every ball hard for about 2 months there, I could see where people are coming from, that he needs to get going again. But he drew some walks. That helps too.
Yep. I think Lowe for me. Lowe will get the hit. He went 2 for 4 in the win the other night. But his power is kind of fallen off. He hasn't really turned on anything like you've seen him do. We see him do it batting practice. It's that thing he has with a fastball. He just seems to always be a bit behind on the fastball that I've noticed. But this is another good one. Who do y'all bring in for 7, 8, 9 innings to close out the game? But this could go a couple ways. But this is from Landon Eldridge. He said, I'm going Smith, Chapman, and Leclerc. Look, one thing we know, that those are 3 good names, I guess you could say, 7, 8, 9, and for the Rangers to close out. One thing, though, Bochy doesn't play it that way because he's kind of noticed that some of these guys aren't very good going back-to-back days, and you might need them back-to-back days. I think, is Leclerc your closer right now? That's who I think it is. I think
he's your best reliever right now. Yeah, I think that's
your closer
for sure.
Chapman, within one pitch whether Chapman's on or not.
Well, I would think that those are the 2 guys who would pitch the 8th and the 9th. But beyond that, Spores has been good.
Yes,
he came back. I think though that you really have to Connor's point earlier, you really need to be aware of who's on the Rays bench, which platoon players are there, and figure out a way to your best matchups, honestly, at that point. And if Jose Leclerc, it's the 8th inning and he needs to mow down 3 good right-handed hitters, and they know that one of them is going to get pinch hit for, or maybe 2. I think at that point you go with him and figure out the 9th. But Chapman, it's been a while, but he was an excellent postseason pitcher for the Cubs. He's done it with the Yankees. It's a guy who knows what it's like. It feels like it was a long time ago for him, but if you can get away with not pitch, let's say this goes 3 games. If you can pitch him in games 1 and 3, get away with that. I think that'd be good. But another thing about these guys is that they'll find something. They'll find an extra gear in the postseason. Maybe it's adrenaline. maybe you dial it in, and he has had the experiences. You remember that 2016 World Series, he was pitching 2 innings an outing, it seemed like. So anyway, I
Well,
would
the other night,
I would say that Will Smith's not part of that mix.
what about Jonathan Hernandez, who, by the way, I know he didn't take the loss the other night, but he came in and almost bailed them out.
He doesn't strike enough guys out.
You don't think he strikes enough?
That's the problem with Jonathan Hernandez. He doesn't strike enough guys out. He throws 98, but he still doesn't strike guys out.
Means it's not moving. If he's throwing 98, he's not striking anybody out.
Coors is a strikeout guy. Andrew Heaney's a strikeout guy. Honestly, depending on what you're going to do in game 3, Andrew Heaney's a strikeout guy. So I would probably lean toward those two guys, Spores or Heaney, over Hernandez. But if you need a double play, then maybe Hernandez is your guy, because of that big power sinker that he throws.
All right, guys, anybody online? I mean, we've been going at this about 35 minutes. What about you, Connor? Anything else?
I mean, I think y'all have covered mostly it all. I mean, I'm looking at the Rays bench right now, as we were saying, like who's going to be matchups, and obviously baseball's a game where you have to, look 2 to 3 innings ahead instead of just the next 3 batters. And sometimes in our bullpen's case, especially, you're looking at, all right, well, if this guy can't get it done, who will? And, there's a lot of right-handed hitters. I mean, that's just plain and simple. So if you can be a guy like Hernandez, and if you can go break some bats, I mean, go for it. But that's pretty much all I have to say.
Well, to win this game, and I guess they could do it without it happening, but, they need Nate Eovaldi and Montgomery, by the way, need to go at least 5 or 6 innings. They have to. And Eovaldi has not gone more than 5 since he's come back from the injury. Like Jeff said the other night, he looked great for those first 2 innings, and then something happens. This team's injured. It's horrible. I mean, Jonathan Gray. When is John Gray even have a chance to come back? Is that ALCS? Is he out for the division?
I think the division series he can come back.
Scherzer's been flirting with it. I mean, he's throwing.
Yeah, Chris Young didn't make that sound like it's imminent. But I don't know. You trust the doctors there, obviously, but you got to trust the guy who's won 3 Cy Young awards and probably knows his body better than any. He just seems so in tune with how his body feels and understands the mechanisms of the body and the kinetic chain and all that stuff. You trust him? Can he give you 2 innings? Can you use him as an opener, a badass opener, or can you bring him in the 6th and let him know ahead of time? No matter what happens, you're pitching the 6th and the 7th. Get warm and get loose, whatever you got to do to get ready. But I don't know. That's not happening this series, though. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think Scherzer is a guy that, competitive wise, if he feels good, he's an ALCS or World Series guy that would fight his way back to be a couple innings guy, and he would be a great couple innings guy wanting to be part of it. But you're not going to F with that arm when you need him next year. And I don't think it's nothing. There's nothing on there. What is it? It's the something teres
major.
Yeah.
It's the same injury I think that Jurickson Profar had, but Profar had other stuff that they later discovered was wrong.
Right.
Scherzer's not remotely worried about it. I mean, he basically said it right off the bat that he knows what it is and he's not worried about it. It's a minor strain. He's dealt with shoulder stuff before, knows how to manage it. It's not something that's going to keep him out for 6 or 8 months. If it gets re-aggravated, he can go into the off season and be ready for spring training still. So
right.
I don't think he's terribly concerned about it, but still they need to make extra sure. Yeah.
That's what Scherzer said. He had that quote, I think, a couple days after he got injured when he reported it. He said putting a date on it's not good for you, because then you're start playing with emotions and you start playing with timeline, and that's not good for your injury, because then you don't want to rush back and you don't want to, make people feel like, okay, well, you said you're going to be back this date and you're not. So like, are you lying to us? What's going on? And it's just not great to put a date on it. I mean, if he's this casual about it, he thinks he's going to come back. That'd be great for, obviously ALDS, ALCS, especially to have a pitcher who's been in that spot before, 2019, obviously. I mean, there's nothing better than that, but
Yeah.
not putting a date on it's not a bad thing either. So
Kyle Jesse points out, how fun would it be? He goes, it's something to just think of that would be fun. But if you think about it on this team, what if you were heading into the playoffs with DeGrom, Scherzer, Montgomery, Gray, and Evaldi in your rotation? I mean,
Yeah.
that just shows you how injured this team is, and what they've done with and what they've dealt with. Because that's pretty stout. And possibly, I mean, depending on what you do with Montgomery, if you do sign him in the offseason, you're going to have DeGrom obviously back towards the end of next season. Our guess, that's kind of the timeline they've said. You got about 15, 16 months before they get you back. I mean, he'll be throwing, but he's probably not set to get back till at least after the All-Star break, at least, and probably going to be a little cautious with that. But boy, you talk about somebody coming back fully ready to go the last month and a half of the season. Whoa, that changes everything. That's a trade deadline move that you're not going to have to give up a lot of prospect for. That's something good to look forward to next year. Guys, if you want a quick one real quick, let us know. If not, I think we're going to wind this thing down. We've been going over here about 40 minutes. Thanks again to everybody. Jeff, I know he feels the same way. We can't appreciate you guys enough for what you do. Connor, thanks for jumping on with us for a little bit. We were supposed to have a couple guys join us, and things came up and they didn't, but that's okay. Look, Jeff and I have said all along, this podcast is for y'all. We want y'all to be a part of it. That's why we invite to do these things. We want to meet you when you come to games. We want to do all of that. We're accessible on social media. We'll talk to you, answer questions. We try to get back to everybody. Go to rangerstoday.com. You can get in the messages there, and we will answer questions in the messages. Jeff does all the time. $5.99 a month, $60 for a year, $30. We're going to keep plugging this because this is very cheap for great coverage from top to bottom. We've had CY on all the way at the top, and we've had Langford on right after he got drafted. We get the organization likes Rangers Today. They like Jeff, and that's why we get these guys on. Can't thank you guys enough. Thanks for jumping on the live feed on YouTube. Appreciate it, guys. Jeff, anything for your part out in the morning? You're heading out there. You're going to be at the game.
I am, unless something terrible happens.
All right, guys, that's it for us. We're going to wind it down. Listen, we are going to do another one of these after the Tampa Bay series, no matter what, whether it's to preview going up to Baltimore or to talk about the end of the season. I think we'll pick up on off-season stuff after the season when we have our first show back in studio. We'll get back on that. So, guys, we appreciate it. Till next time, Connor, thanks for joining us online. We'll see you at the end.
Thanks, Connor.
Go Rangers.
All right, guys. Yep, go Rangers. All right.
All right. See ya.